Thank you. For the record, Alan Janae, Habitat Division Chief. Just wanted to give you guys a quick update. There's been a lot of talk through the past commission meetings about the Overton Conceptual Management Plan. We did release this on May 20th this year. It's out and it's available. I believe most of you received a copy of it. It is on our website at ndow.org. We've got the comment period open through July 1st, accepting public comment to anything that they might have issue with based on this draft. What our tentative timeline is to receive those comments and compile them and then evaluate them between July 1 and the next commission meeting, and then kind of come back to you with a compilation of what we received and how we handled those comments, and then discuss how the final looks and present that to you guys at that time, at that August meeting. And then shortly after hearing comments from you and your final comments, we would finalize probably sometime in September. So it is out and available. It is on our website and receiving comments until July 1st.
Commissioner Drew.
Alan, I thought I didn't get to read, the entire report verbatim, but I did get a chance to thumb through it and kind of scan through it. And it's obviously a very thorough document. It just brought up the question: do we have similar documents for other management areas, and is there kind of a rotation for updating those, or is this kind of a new thing and Overton's the first? Or
there are a few. Most of them are kind of like Overton, that they're kind of old. The Overton CMP, the previous was from 2000, and many are of that same generation. Some, it's not real complete how many we have. We are taking an effort at trying to get them updated and get CMPs onto those areas that don't have them. So it's going to be something that we'll be bringing forward more and more. But the highlights, like Mesa Valley has a CMP as well, same with Steptoe. So we'll be updating those and then getting to the smaller areas later.
Commissioner Macbeth.
I got to the Clark County Advisory Board meeting late, but I did catch the tail end of this agenda item. And when I walked in and realized what they were discussing, I was actually looking around at the players, and everybody was being civil. And if you know the history of this, some of the very first CAB meetings that we had, the various contingencies were, very, calling each other names, and it was just, the meetings were wild, and they were at each other's throat. And so I want to commend the department for taking this very tough situation, and obviously the parties at the CAB meeting seemed to be happy. They seemed to have didn't have any major concerns, and so I was just very, very happy to see that the department had come forth with a plan that basically addressed everything and got everybody together. And so anyway, I just thought I'd say that. No,
thank you. I wasn't there for the whole dynamic, but I've heard about it, and I've kind of seen the comments in the record, and I'm glad, and it worked out, and I was glad that it went so smooth at the Clark and that there were no surprises. But the two gentlemen that were here earlier today, Mike Zaratka and Mark Farman, they did an exceptional job. They were the key players in putting this together, and just give them the recognition that they deserve. They did a great job on it, along with the Overton WMA staff. So it's good stuff. Thank you.
Yes, and I just want to continue that they were all present, all three, Tim, as well as the other two as well, and they were fielding questions and talking, I was just, it was a stark contrast to some of the prior meetings that we had on this plan, and so anyway, just great to see that the system worked.
You bet.
Any other questions? This is an informational item, but if Mr. Dixon wants to get up, I'd welcome his comment because it's Clark County cab.
For the record, Paul Dixon, Clark County Cab. We started to move like the commission did, our meeting around the county of Clark County just to try to capture different user groups. In the first meeting that we had out at Overton at the fire station, when Commissioner McBeth says we had heated discussion, I had 3 different user groups that were probably, I almost lost control of a meeting. They were that destructively yelling and saying name calling. I committed at that meeting to get them all together, and I got Ron Lurie to give me a room at Arizona Charlie's, his grand ballroom, and I sat him down in a room, and for 4 hours I let him tell me everything that each one hated about the other one. And I took the notes. Took those notes, and I met with Tim Woods, Elmer Bull, and I said, what can we do about this? And that started them revising the conceptual management plan, and they kind of took the reins at that point. But when they took the reins, they did an excellent job of having scoping meetings, meeting with these people, listening to them, and they drafted things, came back, asked for comments along the way. Why when we got the plan this time, there was a little comment is that they did an amazing job of managing through this process. And we've had a few changes in leadership at the Department of Wildlife through the development of this plan, and yet we maintained what I consider a great contingency of where we wanted to go in vision. And it's a compliment to the department that happened, because they took something that I was concerned in the beginning we'd never get there. I mean, we had the different user groups just could not see eye to eye, and for them to read this plan, when I called and asked those user groups, do you have any comments, they said, got a few minor things, but overall this looks really good to me. I mean, that was a shock to me, because I called the major user groups to make sure that they were all fine, even though some of them couldn't attend, and they were all on board. So it is a compliment to you and your staff, Alan, and those guys. Amazing job done. So thank you.
Any other cabs have anything they want to say, or general public? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 13B, Sage Grouse update. Secretary Wassley.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll start with an update on the bi-state sage grouse population. As I've previously reported a couple months ago, Bill Dunkelberger, the forest supervisor on the Humboldt-Toiyabe, and myself, as co-chairs of the Executive Oversight Committee on the bi-state sage grouse, authored a letter to Dan Ash and the regional director in California, Ren Lohefner, requesting that the service postpone the listing decision in light of new science and reopen the comment period. They obliged. That comment period recently closed, but prior to its closure, the Bi-State Executive Oversight Committee was able to secure letters of financial commitment from various state, federal, and county partners to the tune of $46 million towards the implementation of the Bi-State Action Plan. Bi-State Action Plan is kind of a roadmap to effective conservation. The Fish and Wildlife Service indicated that they thought that the action plan would likely be adequate to preclude the need to list. However, there was a lack of certainty surrounding the implementation because of the cost. Action plan implementation was $38 million, but because of the federal partners, state partners, and county partners all ponied up, we've been able to exceed that $38 million. BLM has committed $6.5 million. The forest has committed $13.9 million. NRCS has committed $12 million. Mono County is expending over $2 million for closure on a landfill. Both Cal Fish and Wildlife as well as Nevada Department of Wildlife also made commitments. So the ultimate decision, the final listing decision, won't be made until April of 2015. But we're pretty optimistic, and we're hopeful that will be a game changer. With regard to the larger population of graders throughout the other 11 western states, I guess just like to say that Sean Espinoza just recently put together the Western States Sage and Columbian Sharp-tailed Grouse Workshop this week up in Elko. Just shy of 200 attendees. Of that 200, there were about 60 federal employees representing Fish and Wildlife Service, USGS, NRCS, BLM, about 60 state Fish and Wildlife Agency employees representing most of the western states, about 60 or so research university professionals from as far away as Maine, and half a dozen to a dozen industry reps. There was a couple days of talks and some field trips. It was very well organized, very well attended, and there's been some extremely positive feedback from that. And I'd just like to compliment Sean and all his efforts and putting that together in combination with by-state comments and greater comments in other arenas. The state planning process right now, as it relates to the grader through the Sagebrush Ecosystem Council and the Sagebrush Ecosystem Technical Team, is primarily focused on the conservation credit system, which is the state's mitigation strategy. The state has contracted with environmental incentives, and most of the attention right now is being focused on the development of that conservation credit system and trying to meet the expectations of the federal partners. A lot of coordination with the BLM, trying to look at whether or not the state's conservation credit system can meet the expectation and needs of the federal partners who are kind of pushing for a 3% disturbance cap. The conservation credit system, the current discussion is how the conservation credit system is actually more flexible, more responsive, and provides, I guess, more appropriate response to impacts on the landscape. So that's where a lot of the discussion is with the state's planning efforts right now. And I guess I would ask if Commissioner Drew has anything to add. We have a meeting scheduled for next Monday, so it has been a little while since our last state Sagebrush Ecosystem Technical Team or Council meeting, so we'll have one Monday.
I think Director Wasley probably summed things up much better than I can. I don't think we've had an Ecosystem Council meeting since our last commission meeting, although all the meetings run together at some point. But we do have one coming up Monday, so anyone who's interested in where we're at, I would encourage to attend in Carson City.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to 13C, Department Activity Report.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple items to highlight. Next month, the month of July, the department is going to be asking the governor to make a proclamation of Bear Logic Month. Washoe and Douglas counties will follow suit in that declaration as well. On July 9th at 10 a.m., there's a Bear Logic media event at the Department of Wildlife headquarters on Valley Road. We'll be displaying the new family trap. The department purchased a new family trap. A new Karelian bear dog pup will also be present. There'll be some HOA presentations, some bear-resistant trash containers. And so we're hopeful that we'll have a good turnout with media. So you may see some things splashed around the papers or in the news regarding that. There was a conviction on the bear trap tampering case. The sentencing has been delayed to early July. We'll certainly keep you apprised of that situation. With respect to break-ins, between January 1st and May 28th, there were 60 bear calls, 19 break-ins. 14 of those 19 break-ins were in Washoe County, and 11 of those were in Incline Village. We've seen an increase in coyote calls and some coyote conflicts in the southern part of the state. One homeowners association in particular, in their newsletter, encouraged their members to inundate the Department of Wildlife with daily calls and trying to prompt us to action. There certainly isn't an obvious or easy solution. You take desert habitat, you irrigate it, you put landscaping out there. Certainly rodents, rabbits, pets are an attractant to adjacent coyote populations. We'll continue to monitor that and try to keep up with outreach and education. The Southern Region folks handling that have done an excellent job in dealing with both homeowners and the media. Quick personnel update. Presently, I believe we have all of the vacancies that existed in fiscal services and operations filled, including of our budget persons and HR staff soon to be filled, or at least individuals selected. So that's significant, especially presently since we're doing budget development. We issued a couple of awards for Employees of the Year. We'd like to schedule that for a future agenda, but Chet Van Dellen, for his work with the chat product, the Crucial Habitat Assessment Tool, was recognized, and Christy Klinger were both recognized as Employees of the Year. Currently, the spawn up at Marlette Lake is occurring, a little bit better results in the last couple years. I believe we're actually getting some eggs from LCT, and that's a really important source for LaHont and cutthroat trout for our restoration efforts. Recently, the Forest Service has agreed to let the tribe take the Wild Horse Reservoir below the minimum pool. Wild Horse's capacity is 79,000 acre feet. The minimum pool is 5,000 acre feet. So with the present agreement, the water level will be able to be taken to whatever level can actually be extracted. So as you know, you took action to remove the limit up there, and I understand that people have been taking advantage of that and salvaging those fish from Wild Horse to their freezers with the hope that we'll get some good fishing opportunity prior to having any kind of a die-off in there. Law enforcement, we still have a couple vacancies in law enforcement. Probably the key one is Chief Game Warden. Fortunately, Paul Dankowski has agreed to act in that capacity for us in the short term. We don't have, we have some applicants. That position's still open, so we're still looking at interested applicants. One of the difficulties we've realized is that when our game wardens got full peace officer status and qualified for a 25-year retirement, created some earlier turnover, so we're seeing a younger and younger workforce, and a lot of folks that just aren't ready to assume those some of those leadership roles where we have some vacancies. Law enforcement doing a lot of the Quagga and AIS sticker enforcement. Also recently, I believe maybe currently, developing a volunteer reserve game warden program and a civilian volunteer program to help with some of the high demand, peak demand times and some of the, I guess, less risky or serious tasks, just to get some additional support. Game, I already mentioned the sage grouse workshop. Of course, Perry and Mike were here talking about some of the ongoing bighorn sheep issues. You also heard about the elk damage efforts from Patrick, as he mentioned the elk damage fees. Russell's been working with some of the Pacific Flyway issues. Fish and Wildlife Service in Region 8 has temporarily withdrawn from waterfowl issues on the Pacific Flyway. So there's kind of a letter writing campaign encouraging them to reconsider that participation. It's due to a backlog on permitting of energy facilities, et cetera, more related to eagles. Mule deer collaring analysis and summary is continuing. Fisheries Division, the AIS situation this year is believed to be relatively static. In 2014, AIS decal funds are funding the decontamination sites, the facilities, education, outreach, and enforcement. Recovery efforts are ongoing for bull trout, red band trout, and Lahontan cutthroat trout around the state. Habitat Division, a lot of technical review, some energy projects, some mining projects, some significant projects around the state, obvious nexus to sage grouse, a lot of sage grouse input and participation. And you saw the duck stamp, upland game stamp projects that were brought before you today, the Overton CMP. Also some water developments, new water developments, some truck accessible water developments in areas to where we can actually get water to those water developments rather than use helicopters. It's much more cost effective if we can truck water and not have to pay for aerial support. Also some PJ thinning, reseeding, post-fire re-veg work and PJ thinning for the benefit of sage grouse ongoing. The Diversity Division, working with tortoises, some sterilization workshops, eagle nesting or eagle surveys, raptor nesting surveys. A lot of that's been done in conjunction with the Nevada Mining Association and some of those mining mitigation funds and fees that we talked about earlier. Conservation Education Division, taking a key role in the planning efforts for the Bear Logic Month. Also next summer, next July, Nevada will be hosting WAFWA in Reno. Con Ed is providing some key support in planning those efforts already. Also development of the Hunt Book, Free Fishing Day, and we have the cooking classes, which have been very popular. There's cooking classes for big game, for upland game and fish, and that includes kind of care from field to freezer and now preparation. A lot of interest in those. Operations, we had over 200,000 applications this year for the big game hunt, greater than 60,000 unique individuals, which is about a 5% increase for each of the last 2 years. So it's good to see that that's on a positive trend. If you have any questions on any of that, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions from anybody on the commission? Very thorough, thank you. Seeing no questions, we'll move on to 13D, litigation report. Mr. Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have a copy of